Africa who has never had an effect of HIV in terms of claiming a loved one, a friend, a relative. In one way or the other, we have been affected. And today, we are having a very important topic concerning HIV in families, what we need to know. Recent statistics in Uganda indicate that the prevalence rate of AIDS is at 5.1% for ages between 15 to 49. And that is the most productive age range anywhere in the community, and more specifically in Uganda. And as you can know that also our highest population of 70% falls within that same age range. So it is something that has touched everyone, has touched the economy, has touched the young and the old, irrespective of your status. It is something that we cannot hide away from, but we need to talk about. So HIV in families, what do we need to know? Today we are blessed to have one of our own who also happens to wear many hats as a mother, as a grandmother, as a counselor, but also as the chairperson of the Uganda AIDS Commission, who is going to take us through this topic, and that is none other than Canon Dr. Ruth Senyonyi. Put your digital hands together to welcome her, please, so that we can listen to what the Lord has prepared through her. You are welcome, Canon Dr. Ruth.
Thank you very much for that, Bob. I'm excited to be here to be talking about HIV. It's a topic that many people are scared of and don't want to even think about and talk about. So I'm so glad that you have given me the opportunity to do it. As Bob has said, I'm now working as chair Uganda AIDS Commission, and this is what we do a lot, because we realize when people have information, there is power there. So we go to all kinds of people, to faith-based, to businessmen, to anywhere, to get the message across that HIV is something that can be handled, that can be ended if we all put our hands together and do something. I'm glad my husband is online as well. So we are in different rooms, but we are all here. Thank you very much. So I'll begin. You have already talked a little bit about the statistics, and this is true. The prevalence is 5.1. We thank God because we have moved from a double digit of prevalence. Prevalence means the number of people, the percentage of people who have HIV right now, whether it is just recent or way back, received way back. So all the numbers of people who, the percentage of the population in Uganda, we are at 5.1, which is in our view, it has come down very, very, very well. In all the population, we have 1.492 or 1,492 people that have HIV. Of those, 910 are women. So women suffer much more than men. Men are 520,000 and children are 72,000. Then when we look at new infections, there's data to show that this person has just got HIV or got HIV long time ago. Okay, so the new infections among the population is 38,000, and 22,000 of these are women, 11,000 of these are men, and 4,700 are children. And we find that a lot of children are now being born with HIV. So 4,700 really comes from those that are infected, especially at birth, which is still a very high figure. And they keep telling us, the president especially keeps telling us that this is not good enough. We're supposed to do something about these figures. And that is the work that we've been given as Uganda AIDS Commission, working together with many other people to be able to handle this reduction. In terms of AIDS-related deaths, people are dying, 20,000 and 8,200 are women. Now, surprisingly, the men are dying more this time. That's the figure that changes, 8,400, because they don't seek help. So we are encouraging men to be engaged as much as possible. Sometimes I use this to just show exactly and understand. Some of us are not statisticians or mathematicians, so sometimes we don't understand those figures. But you imagine that there are 38,000 new infections, and that means 6 people get HIV every hour in Uganda. I think that kind of gives you a good view. 6 people every hour. So you think of the hours we have spent. If you have spent 6 hours today, 6 people are getting HIV every hour, or 730 people get infected per week. So it gives you the bigger picture that Bandange, this thing is still with us, and we need to be able to do something about it. In terms of deaths, about 54 people die from AIDS-related deaths in Uganda per day. 54. That's still a big number. 384 people die from AIDS-related illnesses in Uganda per week. That is a big number. So when you think of it like that, you're like, okay, we have to do something about it. And it starts with us in the family. We have been given the task as Uganda AIDS Commission. Still sorry to talk so much about Uganda AIDS Commission, but that's what we do, that we have to end AIDS as a public health threat. And this is under the Presidential Fast Track Initiative. That's why we are under the President's office, because he is so passionate about closing the HIV thing. He started it a long time ago, and we are blessed to be working towards that. So the first thing that we say in this Fast Track Initiative, or called PFTI, is that we want to engage men so that they close the tap on new infections. You know that men are heads of families, they are influential, and they are the ones who normally pass on the disease easily to the women. So if you engage men, there's a lot that you can do. So we have worked with Uganda, we have worked with Bunyoro, have worked with Toro, because they are very influential in terms of working with men in HIV. So you've seen things like the runs, the marathons, the traditional things. We are always in there because we know that the message goes to the men directly. And then there is test and treat, that when you test immediately, you start treatment. Earlier on or before, it was test and then wait, and if your CD4 count goes down, then you can start treatment. But right now, we are implementing what we call the test and treat. You test today and you treat immediately. You start treatment immediately. And then we are looking also at elimination of mother-to-child transmission of HIV. I shall be explaining these terms a little more as we go along, that no child should be born with HIV. And that can be done. I'll also explain it. Then we look at the financial sustainability for that response. It has been disrupted, especially with the Trump orders, but we know that we are going to get back on course. So we need to be able to sustain this response. We are not, what are the gains that we have got over the years? We are not going to go backward. There's so much that has been done. Uganda is rated as one of the best in handling HIV/AIDS. So we don't want to lose that. And then the last one, which is number 5, is to ensure institutional effectiveness for a well-coordinated multi-sectoral response. That is us. We are the institution that coordinates all the things that are happening under HIV. So I just wanted to give you a brief on that so that you can be able to know what we are doing. So when we say ending AIDS as a public health threat by 2030, I forgot to put that, by 2030, we are supposed to have what? 3 things. 0 new infections. Nobody should be getting an infection of HIV, whether a child, whether an adult. We should be able to control that. 0 stigma. Stigma is one of the things that people are, even now, some people might not be online because of stigma. They'll say, oh, I'm listening to what? Maybe they'll think I'm HIV positive. Or I am talking to someone who is HIV. No. So we need to be able to stop the stigma so that people can seek help, so that people can know exactly what to do when they get there. And then we have 0 AIDS-related deaths, that no one will die of AIDS. And I'll also explain the AIDS, because there were so many people dying. I'm sure you remember, if you go in your background, you remember that people died and they just were left to die. But now we don't leave people to die. We want everyone to grow old and die of old age, not of any AIDS-related death. That's what we're looking at. So it's important for us to increase our knowledge base. Whenever you want to do something, you have to increase. You need accurate information. You need to know what HIV is. You need to know, how is it transmitted? How is it treated? Is there a cure? What do we do about HIV? I remember when I went for my first course in HIV, I went to AIDS Information Center. We had a 2-week course on HIV. And the very first question they asked, what is HIV? Honestly, I had heard so much about HIV, but I couldn't remember exactly what it was. So when we improve our knowledge base, then we are able to do something about it. I've realized that even in counseling, when you increase people's knowledge about, let's say, about marriage, about family, about children, about looking after all kinds of things, then they will do better, because now they know. So what is HIV? I think, let me give you a second to think. And if you can write it in the chat, that would also be nice. What is HIV? What do you know about it? I mean, what does it mean? Has anybody got any answer yet? I don't see anything in the chat. What is HIV? What does it stand for? Anybody in the chat? I don't see anything yet. Are you people there? HIV? What is HIV? So you might be like me. You only know that, oh, H virus or something, immune, something like that. Someone says they have forgotten. Exactly. And it is okay. Yeah, someone has said human immunodeficiency virus. Good, you got the answer. Good, good. Edith, you got the answer as well. And the rest maybe someone is just saying virus. So it's just important for you to know that someone said Sirim. That is so funny. So human immunodeficiency virus means that there's a virus that is attacking the human being and making the immune system deficient. The virus that attacks the human being and makes the immune system deficient. That's exactly what it means. So it attacks that human being's immune system, and the immune system is that system that fights off infections and diseases. So try to think of a house, and in that house there are like 10 doors and 20 windows, and each of those windows you have a guard, you have a soldier who is standing and guarding that place. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay. So there is a guard. So those guards, we call them the immune system. And when it is very efficient, it's like it looks out for anything that is not supposed to be in the body. If it is malaria, those soldiers will come and hold it. We try to give it a simple description so that you can understand it. The soldiers that are standing by the door, they come and hold that thing and squeeze it until it is dead and throw it out. So they don't allow your body to be infected by anything. And sometimes if the infection is too much, that's why they give you an antibiotic in your body to help those immune systems to fight the diseases that come in. Now, so they are able to recognize that, oh, there is a problem that has come into the system. There's a problem that has come into the system. We need to work to see how to work it out. But the virus, the HIV virus, now comes and attacks the soldier itself and goes inside that soldier. So now the soldier does not know that there is something that has come in. It is caught unawares. And so it stops working, because when the virus gets inside there, it stops working. It stops this soldier from doing their job. So think of the soldiers that are guarding the windows and the doors now are not effective anymore. Why? Because the virus has come inside, and when it comes inside, it starts reproducing many other viruses, and that attack what we call the CD4 cell. It impairs that function of the cells, and the body cannot fight off infection anymore. So when it happens, it leads to a progressive depletion of the immune system, and that's what we call the immunodeficiency. So right now, the soldiers who are standing on the doors cannot see, they are too weak, they cannot see the infections that are coming in like they were doing before. Okay? So then many also, I forgot to ask you about AIDS, but I've already put it there. So sorry. What is AIDS? AIDS is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, that if you do not treat, if you do not do anything to the HIV that has entered your soldiers, eventually you get many diseases that come to your body. Let me just see here. It says, so one then has acquired several symptoms, or they call them life-threatening infections, that indicate that the body is not able to fight diseases. So the body becomes vulnerable to all kinds of diseases. They call them opportunistic diseases. Why? Because they are taking advantage of the weakened system. The system is so weak, the soldiers are not working, they just walk in and have a feast and start eating up your body. And then that's why they say you have got AIDS and you are going to die of what we call AIDS-related death, which we want to stop. We don't want that to happen. So AIDS is defined on the basis of what we call the CD4 positive T cell count of less than 200 per millimeter of blood. That's how they know. If you are less than 200, then you are going into AIDS. It's not good. Let me also explain some of these things, CD4 count and all that. So we have what we call the viral load. This is the amount of how much HIV is in the blood of that person who has HIV. And the higher the viral load, the more likely a person is to transmit HIV. So the soldiers are full of HIV, the soldiers guarding, they are so full, and the process is replicating or reproducing so many others. So it is so weak. And so the viral load is very high. There is a test that is done almost every 3 months, 6 months, 1 year for a person who has HIV to see their viral load. If it is very high, they can transmit HIV. What we want is for it to go down to what we call undetectable. That when they look for HIV in the body, the viral load tells you that is very low, and that can only be done when you are on treatment. If you are not on treatment, it just keeps rising up. So a newly infected person, one who has got a new infection, is very infectious. Now you imagine we have 38,000 new infections in our country every year. That is a very high number. It means there are 38,000 there who are infecting others. And that is dangerous. That's why I want to reduce, say, no new infections, because a newly infected person transmits that virus very fast. Then we have what they call the CD4 count. This shows you the number of cells, CD4 T cells in the blood. And the lower the count, it means they are eating up the CD4, the virus has eaten up the CD4 cells, and because it goes inside that CD4 cell instead of being outside and being recognized by the CD4 cell. I hope you understand that. The CD4 cell is supposed to recognize danger, but right now it has a virus inside it, which is replicating, which is reproducing, which is reproducing very, very fast. And when it reproduces, it also eats up the healthy ones that were there. It means, therefore, when you are doing a CD4 count, it's showing you that, whoa, the CD4 things have been eaten up. The healthy ones are very, very, very few. So if it is low, it is not good. Okay? Then we go to what is HIV testing. We need to do testing. It is done to see if you are infected with the HIV virus. I don't know how many of you on this call have taken a test of HIV. Some of you say, me, I'm saved. There's no way I'm going to get HIV. We don't do that. You have everybody, we are encouraging everyone to be checked. So your family, that is your responsibility. If you're head of the family, you should have taken your children and your family for HIV testing. If you can't take them, you can buy. Even Uganda AIDS Commission has testing kits that you can use at home. You just put it in there in your mouth and put it inside a little thing, just like you see there in that picture, and it will show you with lines whether you are positive or negative. Now, if it shows a positive mark, then you need to see the doctor to make sure that that's what it is. So we call it the antibody test, okay? And it detects the antibodies which are found in blood or oral fluid produced by the immune system in response to the HIV. It takes about a month for those antibodies to develop. That's why if you are infected today, the test may not show that you're infected because the antibodies have not yet built up. It can be done in the lab, it can be done at home. What does a negative result mean? It means that you do not have HIV. But don't rejoice too much, because some people, when they realize, I don't have HIV, and then they go on rampage and eventually get HIV. So we don't want you, if you are negative, we want you to remain negative. But if you have been exposed, you've got a negative result. But if at all you have been exposed in the ways I'll be telling you, you need to go again after about 3 months to check. If it shows a positive result, it means you are infected. It's not the end of the world. Okay? Have it rechecked at a center so that you can start treatment. A positive result, yeah? Yeah. And then if you are infected, you start treatment promptly. And if you are infected, you take precautions to prevent the spread or the passing on the virus to someone else. Those are the benefits. So it's important to know quickly. Some people tell me, me, when I first get sick, then I will go and test, but I don't want to test. And I must admit that it took me a long time also to test. They told me when I was having my third born, I had my third born in the US, and they told me, oh, you're supposed to have you are encouraged to have an HIV test if you're coming from from Africa. And I said, because it was, you could say yes, you could say no, and I said, no, I don't want to do that test. So it is scary. I was at Bank of Uganda for 22 years and doing testing like for everybody. At every opportunity, I would send people, we would do camps, I would be the one organizing everybody go for test, but me, I would not go for that test. There is also that thing of, where would I have got HIV from? No, I can't get HIV. But when you listen to some stories like that of Dr. Watiti, you will go and have that test, because you never know where you are going to get it from. Sometimes it's not gotten from the ways that you think it's gotten from. So go and test and know your status. I'm encouraging you to do that. Couple testing, we always say go together, test together, not together. Go together, test together. Don't go behind. There are some people who go behind and they discover they are positive. They start treatment, but they forget to take the partner. It's like sometimes we call it murder. You can't do that. We are also encouraged to test, because sometimes a person may be positive, one husband may be positive and his wife may be negative. That's what we call discordant couples who don't have the same result. So doesn't mean that when you are positive, your spouse is automatically positive. It doesn't mean if you are positive, your children are automatically positive. So test so that you can know your status, even when you are not suspicious. Because some people say, my husband is okay. Or me, I'm a single person. I do not know how to, I don't have anything. I don't have sex with anybody. There's no, I'm saved. No way. Test to make sure. A test is always the one that shows you. It's always also important to test children, especially those that have been orphaned, one way or another. Test them and see whether they are okay. And then those who are doing premarital testing, it's also important to know your status before marriage, so that you're making an informed decision. We don't stop you from marrying, although some churches, we went, I think, to Fort Portal, and we were talking about this, and then one pastor stood up and said, for us, this is what we do. We make sure you go and have a test. If one is positive, we stop the wedding. So I told him, sir, you are not supposed to do that. That is not your duty. If one is positive and one is negative, they go for counseling and get help to see how they are going to live together. So we no longer stop people from getting married just because one is positive, but we can teach them what to do around that. And they go with information and they know that this person I've gone with is positive. There are many who are getting married in that kind of situation, and it is okay. Testing children, people. I remember talking to a 16-year-old whose mother had died of HIV and whose father was positive. And so I was given the task. There were 3 16-year-old, I think there was a 13-year-old, I think there was a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. And they told me we are going to test them. And so talk to them, counsel them, and see what they know. And they were positive, all of them. My heart went out for them, and I'm like, Lord, how can this be? And so I began with the older one and said, do you know about HIV? Just like I'm talking now. Oh, HIV is this. They taught us in school. Do you have any idea whether you can have it or not? Me, I cannot have it. There's no way. I've not done anything that will bring HIV to me. And I said, Lord, now what? Huh? This child is so confident that they are negative, and yet they are positive. I knew that the result, and yet they are positive. How are we going to maneuver here? So eventually I told him his result, and he cried and cried and cried and cried and cried because he didn't expect it. And in my research also, I worked with children who are teenagers between the age of 12 and 18, and they were born with HIV. It's a very difficult state to be in. So even when I was talking to the clergy just recently, I told them, please, when you are preaching, HIV has been gotten in many ways. Some of them are careless and they go and have HIV with somebody and they know they are doing something wrong. Others are sitting at home as wives, very faithful, very, very faithful, and the husband becomes unfaithful and brings the disease home. Others are born, their mothers are the ones who pass it on to them. So when you start condemning HIV people, that is stigma. So we need to be careful. So test, please, so that the child is 16, he was born with HIV and he doesn't know anything about it. So they need to start treatment early so that they can live longer and avoid any problems that come with that. So then what happens when HIV comes? We need to treat. That's why we said test and treat. So what does treatment mean? Inside the infected cell, inside the cell, HIV produces new copies of itself, which can then go on to infect other healthy cells within the body. I told you that there is a replication or a birth of cells that, of T4 cells that have HIV now. So they become so many and they replicate very, very, very fast. And so we need to do something about it. So the more cells that the HIV infects, the greater it is on the immune system. So there is a need to stop the replication, to stop the reproduction of the HIV inside the cell, because we can't kill the cell. They've tried, they have failed to kill the cell. So the method that came now was, let's try to stop it reproducing. It's like me now being told I can't give birth anymore. They've done things to me so that I cannot give birth anymore. You know, that's what it means. I cannot replicate. Those cells cannot be there. So what does it do? The antiretroviral therapy is the daily use of a combination of HIV medicines to treat HIV. So loads of medicine, different types that treat, okay? And when a person is on ART or antiretroviral therapy, it reduces the amount of HIV in the body. It reduces the risk of HIV transmission. It prevents HIV from advancing to AIDS. It protects the immune system and prolongs life expectancy to near normal. And so this is what it does. You take what they call ARVs or antiretroviral drugs. Okay, they are given to the infected person by a medical doctor to purposefully slow down that reproduction and replication of HIV in the body. When it slows down that replication, then the spread of the virus in the body is no longer happening. So it's like, you imagine this is a cell. I usually have something here, but you imagine that this is a cell and it is reproducing many others. So the medicine comes and it surrounds the whole thing like that, surrounds it so much that it refuses it to replicate. Okay, that's the job that the ARVs are doing. Every day you take the medicine and it becomes like a protection, a security, no more reproduction. So that means the cells that are healthy in the body now start replicating, start reproducing. So the CD4 cell that is reproducing now is healthy. And that's why when we start taking medication, you start becoming healthy. These cells are there. When you look for the HIV, it is there, but it is not replicating. So let's go back to our soldiers. It's like now the soldiers are there. The ones that are infected are down. They are lying down. They are no longer working. But now the new ones come up because this thing has been protected. It's not producing. It's not eating up the other CD4 cells. So the new ones come and now stand on the door. So you're still HIV positive. You're still counted among the people who are HIV positive, but your viral load is now low, undetectable, and your CD4 count is now high because the healthy things are coming up. I hope that is understandable. So ART is not a cure, but has the ability to prolong life. It is comprehensive care for that HIV/AIDS person. And you're supposed to adhere to that medicine. You stick to, you are loyal. So you take that medication at the same time, you take it in the right dose, and you take it in the right way. If you are taking it in the morning, you take it at 8 a.m. in the morning. If it is 8 p.m., whatever time you decide, it doesn't have to be 8, but whatever time has to be consistent. So we tell them, carry your medicine in a medicine box. Always have it in your bag and have an alarm on your phone that says, time to take medicine. You get up, you pick up the medicine, you take it wherever you are, whether you're at a party or a wedding, the time has come. Why? Why do we say that? Because when you don't take your medicine, remember our little CD4 cell when you don't take your medicine, it gives a gap to that cell. And then this cell inside starts reproducing again. So you don't take medicine for 3 days, you are giving a gap to this little thing inside here to show its head and come out and start infecting the healthy cells again, and you go backwards. So if you take it every day for the rest of your life, you take it as you should, even in this period when Trump has disturbed us, you go and line up, get that medicine for 1 month and go back after 1 month because you need that medicine, you cannot stop. And so what happens when we look for the viral load, we say the viral load has gone down. It is undetectable. And when it is undetectable, it means you cannot transmit. That's why we have what we call the U equals U. Undetectable equals untransmittable. So that's where we are going. We are saying the 1 million people, 1.5 million people that have HIV, if all of them are on medication, they will not be able to transmit. If all the people knew their status and started treatment, they will not be able to transmit and will be able to get to 0 new infections. Are we together? I don't see anybody saying yes, but I hope the information is
together.
Okay, so how does one acquire HIV? How does one acquire HIV? These are the ways: through blood, through semen and pre-semen fluid, through vaginal fluid, through rectal anal fluids or mucus, through human breast milk. And I'm going to explain them a little bit more. So the first one, okay, then HIV is not acquired through these things, through hugs, through shaking hands or casual contact, through sharing food or drinks, plates, cups, cutlery. So when you have somebody who is HIV positive, don't give them a separate cup and say that one is the HIV one cup. Don't touch it, don't drink from it, don't eat from it. No. Saliva, you don't acquire it through saliva, especially casual kissing, but deep open mouth kissing is risky because it takes a lot of things inside. Okay, sharing toilets or bathing facilities, that you can't acquire HIV. So if I've been sitting on the toilet and then you come and sit on the toilet, no, I can't get HIV. There's something that was moving around in WhatsApp saying, oh, they're injecting HIV into the toilet paper. The HIV virus cannot stay alive for that long, that you come and pull the toilet paper and use it and HIV enters. So that is really fake information. We shouldn't listen to it. Mosquito bites, no. Sweat, no. Air, no. Okay? So it's not acquired through that. So let me explain how it comes. And some of the words are really difficult, but through semen, pre-semen. So this business of saying, oh, I'm really hugging somebody, or our clothes are off and we are just doing nothing. We don't even do pre-semen. That one before the semen comes out is something that can also get in. So it can be insertive, meaning somebody is inserting something, is putting in something, or it can be receiving, the receiver, receptive sexual intercourse with a person who has a detectable, who has a detectable viral load of HIV. So it can be vaginal, it can be oral, especially if there are cuts and sores in the mouth. So sexual intercourse, that is clear. Secondly, through lesbian and homosexual activity, young people are getting into this LGBTQ, and it can be insertive because some of the men do insertive in through the back. It can be receptive as anal sex, and this gives you 10 times higher infections. It's a very dangerous. They call them the key population. And we are really worried because that small key population that is doing this lesbian and homosexual activity can infect a very big population. And it's starting with the children in our family. So we need to be able to inform them that please do not play around with homosexual, lesbian things, because people are afraid of getting pregnant. And these activities of lesbianism do not make them pregnant. So they think, oh, I will do this and I'll be fine. But now you are getting infections 10 times more. Sex toys, I think you've heard of them. People share. They play with these things and then share them. That you can get HIV. Pre-semen, that is coming in contact with a penis during sex, even if one has non-insertive one, even if you pull it out before ejaculation. Sorry, I have to be a bit open here. Yeah. So the virus in secretions can enter through the delicate skin of the penis or foreskin. Okay, and that's why women get infected more, because they have a bigger space where the virus can come, and the men have a littler space. And so that's why women are more affected. Sex during menstrual blood is a high risk. Forced sexual encounters like rape and defilement. So we need to keep our children safe in the holidays. I worked with rape and defilement in a company, in a place called Hope After Rape. And my eyes were opened that the biggest number of rapes are happening in homes. So please be careful. Do not mix boys and girls in the same room. Do not put these house helps in the same room with your children. They come with a lot of bad manners. I've had clients that talked to me and said, this girl really tortured us. She did many sexual, horrible things to us. She's a girl staying in the girl's room, and she is forcing them to do a lot of things. So as a family, we need to be protective of the children. And walking in, you wake up at night at midnight and go and look around, so they know, oh, mommy can come anytime, so we can't be doing things that we are not supposed to do. Putting your high school or university cousin or friend into the same room as a 6-year-old. That is very dangerous. Oh, uncle, please look after her. No, she's going to be raped by that man. And then sexual multiple partners, prostitution, sex workers, all that is semen and pre-semen. So the prevention of this is abstinence. 1, using the condom. 3, PrEP. We call it PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis. That is a 2-monthly or 6-monthly injection which offers protection for the HIV negative person against acquiring HIV. So you get an injection if you know you live a risky life. This is what we use for the key population, people who are in that state that I had told you, the lesbians, the sex workers, the people who are doing that job. They have to be on this PrEP. Otherwise, they are going to spread this disease to everybody. There's something that the 2 medicines there that are not yet available on the Ugandan market, but it's a breakthrough in the HIV world, that we're getting medicines that can prevent and injections that can do a lot of prevention. Then we have the blood. The blood is injected into how you get HIV through the blood. It can be injected in the bloodstream. It can be through using and sharing needles, reusing and sharing needles. So those who inject sharp needles in drug taking and sharing needles and syringes, sharing sharp objects like razor blades and that contain contaminated blood. And then we have those who are pricked as health professionals. I've been giving an injection to an HIV person, then by mistake I pricked myself. So that happens, but now most of the people that have health centers, as soon as they inject you, that little needle is put in something that dissolves that needle immediately. Before you put it anywhere, you dissolve it there. Then we have blood transfusion. You can get HIV through blood transfusion. You can get it through open wounds and sores at accident scenes, bomb blast scenes, and then pre-chewed food from an infected person. You know that mothers normally chew food and put it in the mouth of the little ones. If you are HIV infected, that can infect someone else. So we need to, or maybe you are feeding a sickly elderly person. Let's use the modern ways of it other than chewing with our mouth, because it can bring a lot of infections there as well. The prevention for blood, we have ensured, as government, they have ensured that there's adequate and good quality blood transfusions free of the virus. All the blood that is donated is screened. If it is HIV positive, it is thrown away. Then secondly, we use needles, new needles for every prick, and there's proper disposal. Then we have what we call PEP, post-exposure prophylaxis. If there is anything that has happened to you, and you have pricked yourself as a health professional, you use the treatment to stop HIV infection. It is taken within 72 hours. We also encourage those who have been raped to take the PEP. It's also like an antiretroviral drug that stops the, if there's anything that has come, it will stop it before it spreads. So we need to be aware of these things, that if you have any rape, please report to the health center so that they can give you PEP. If 72, 3 days, not more than 3 days. If you come after that, then they won't give it to you, and you are likely to get HIV after that. Then we have what we call the MTCT, mother to child transmission, or sometimes they call it vertical transmission, or perinatal transmission. So you can get this disease, the baby can get the disease in pregnancy. It shouldn't happen like that, because the way the body is made, the food is transmitted through between the mother and the child, and there are safety measures that God made already, that HIV cannot pass through there. However, some people fall, some people get malaria, some people get sick, and that filter gets a problem. So it's important to be able to know and see a doctor when you're pregnant all the time. At childbirth and delivery, a child can get HIV, because maybe as they come out, if you've been in a bathroom, seeing a child being born, there's a lot of fluid, there's a lot of blood. So normally when someone is HIV positive, the nurses make sure that as soon as the baby is delivered, they put the baby away from the mother immediately. They work on the baby differently and the mother differently to avoid that. But sometimes when you are in a home or in a banana garden or being helped by a birth assistant, all these things are not there, and the danger is very high. Then breastfeeding. If you are HIV positive and you have a high viral load, you are not on medication, the breast milk is infected. So if you have a cracked or a sore or infected or bleeding breast, the situation is even worse. So how do we prevent mother-to-child transmission? You have to go to a health center or hospital for antenatal and birth services. If you're HIV positive, you need to be on effective and consistent HIV treatment so that you bring the viral load down. And then we advise you not to breastfeed. If you are positive, do not breastfeed. Talk to your doctor. If you have no other way of feeding this child, then we say exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months, meaning you don't give the baby anything for 6 months except your breast. Why? Because when the baby eats other things, this esophagus becomes rough. And so if you are positive, that breast milk can go anywhere, and then the child will get HIV. So the best is that do not breastfeed. But of course, when we talk to people who are in the village, they are like, and then everybody's telling you, and so there's so much, it's a lot of pressure if you are not breastfeeding. So exclusive breastfeeding is also possible. And then as soon as the child is born, they also give that child infant PEP. I've already talked about PEP. So how do we live now positively as a family? It's important to encourage each member to test. Please test. Please test. Tell everybody to test. Tell your groups to test. If you are having an event, bring a person to test. Support each other. Help the infected to adhere to medicine. Remind them, have you taken your medicine? Have you taken your medicine? The time is medicine time. so that you can do that. Encourage open communication so that there's no stigma in there. And then avoid secrecy. Secrecy, if you are secret about your disease, then nobody will help you. So disclose your status. It takes a lot to disclose. We sit with the person in counseling and teach them how to disclose. It's not easy. So don't blame the person who has not told you that they are positive, because it's a hard thing to do. Because many times when you disclose, they cut you off. People automatically say, oh, you're muradi. And they stop talking to you, they stop eating with you, they stop doing anything. They don't want to go swimming with you, they don't want to eat with you. It is not nice. And yet we've told you those other ways you cannot really change, you cannot get HIV. Eat healthy, talk about sexuality, sexual behavior. Your children are in holiday, sit them down and have a sexual talk. Answer their questions and be nice to them. So talk about the sexual health, talk about gender-based violence, rape and defilement. You who are married, stop adultery and infidelity. That brings HIV into the family. There are people who are addicted to pornography and sexual addiction. They come now with HIV. And then you have to live responsibly and give accountability. I'm going to end with the things you know. We call them ABC, the ABC, but I've added DEFGH of prevention, the ABC of that. One is abstinence. You are not supposed to be having sex with anybody. No sex with anyone. You will not die. If you are single, don't have sex with anybody. And then being faithful to your spouse in marital relationships. Be faithful, both of you. Not only one person, because normally they want the woman to be faithful, but the man can be unfaithful. No, both of you have a faithful partner, and check yourselves at intervals. Condom use. In the church, we don't like to talk about condom use, but if you use condoms, you have to be consistent. You have to use them correctly. There are some people who don't know how to use condoms. We laugh about it sometimes, that when we go to show, when you are dealing with AIDS, you have to demonstrate how to put on the condom and how to put it off. And so normally they have something that is showing how they should do it. Now, some people, because they're thinking, oh, you get a piece of wood and put the condom on, put it over there while you are over there, the other side. So we have to be extremely clear when we talk about condoms and how to use them, being consistent. And then another C stands for circumcision. Circumcision has also been found to be helpful in reducing your rate of catching it. Then there is delaying. That is the D. Delay fast sex. Wait, don't have sex. You're not going to die. Wait until marriage and have a test before marriage. Have a test during marriage. D, discordant couples. Adopt preventive behaviors. Preventive behaviors to reduce the chances of HIV transmission to the negative partner. So if I'm a discordant partner, I am positive, you are negative, we have to know how we are going to do this. That can be given to you in any counseling health center. For us, counseling in any health center, what you need to do. I can't talk about it here, but it is possible. So don't separate, don't run away, don't go home. You can still be the wife forever. E, engaging in sex with multiple co-current partners is risky and must be avoided. You have your wife, then you have a side dish, then you have a prostitute, then those are multiple partners. You are definitely going to get sick because you don't know them. Now, some of them, I remember one person who died recently, he brought a testing kit. So he's like, let's test before we do this. But still, even if you test, you have multiple partners, you are at risk. So please do not have multiple partners. Be faithful. G, get rid of denial, stigma, and discrimination. Please do not be a person who stigmatizes an HIV positive person. Think of a person you know who's HIV positive. Reach out to them, love them, connect with them. That's what you should do. H is for HIV counseling and testing. Go for counseling. We first do counseling before we test, to know how many partners have you had, what have you been doing, what is the risk, why have you come for testing, and then we test. If you are at home and test and it's positive, go to the health center so that they can give you that counseling. There are also nutrition. When you are positive, there's a lot of things that are happening to your body. So malnutrition is common in HIV disease. So eat well, eat a balanced diet to improve your quality of life, to improve your immune system. And then it helps to manage the symptoms also and the complication. So what can I do as I end? What can I do to end AIDS? Me, I must know my status today. Well, not today, because today is already night. By tomorrow, to avoid transmitting HIV to anyone else or getting HIV from someone else. 2, disclose appropriately so that you save lives. If you are a husband with HIV, you've never told your wife, disclose today. Tell them so that you can save them. If you don't tell them, we call you a murderer. You are transmitting the disease and they don't even know that they are getting it. And then protect your unborn child, if you're pregnant, from getting HIV. We need to have zero. There are people in the world, some nations, that have no children, 0 children born with HIV, because all the people have adhered. When you are pregnant, there are rules you have to go by. But here you tell someone, go for antenatal, they should be able to check. But all the health centers are able to check for HIV. The last thing is, as you eliminate intimate partner violence, because people who are violent, there is a high chance of getting HIV. Empower young women. You have young women in your families. You have children who are supposed to be in school, especially women and girls. When they come out, there's a study that showed that if they're out of school very early, they get pregnant. I'm sure you've seen children who stop going to school and immediately get pregnant. So they need to stay in school so that they can delay their sexual behaviors. Engaging men, I've talked about that, testing and treating and elimination of mother to child. I liked this suitcase. It shows 2 things. There's treatment, there's prevention. All of them are side by side. We need to be able to do that. You can see under prevention, we have PMTCT, prevention of mother to child transmission. We have HIV counseling and testing, have blood supply screening, we have condoms, we have medical male circumcision, we have treatment for prevention, we have education so that people can change behavior, we have treatment and prevention of drug and alcohol abuse, and so many things. So I pray that you may be a person who engages. If you're a man, I pray that you engage. You make sure that you lead your family to prevention, to treatment. I want to say thank you so much for listening to me this evening, and may God bless you.
Thank you, Canon Dr. Ruth. So informative. And I'm sure everyone has learned. Even people have been, we've been hearing some of these things day in, day out. But every time you listen, something new comes up and you get to learn. HIV, some people had forgotten. I remember writing it in one of the questions in school. Now, I was scratching my head. What does that H stand for? Immunodeficiency, I could remember. But thank you very much for reminding us, but more so teaching us, putting this knowledge into practice in our day-to-day life. ABCD, I remember I last listened to ABC. Now it has added D, E, G, and H. So wonderful. Thank you very much, Canon Dr. Ruth, once again. Today, this is a special session, and I have a co-moderator in Mr. Sibeke David. But before he comes on, just 2 questions. Dr. Ruth, you talked about the difference between HIV and AIDS, but we hear a lot of many people on the street and in our villages and our homes talk about Sirimu. What is the difference? Is it about the looks? Is it the AIDS? Is it the HIV? First, draw a line there.
Okay, slim came in because originally, before we got ARVs, when you got the disease, it ate you up. You know, every disease was coming, and that's the AIDS-related symptoms. Huh? Because now there are no soldiers to guard, so your body is being eaten away. And they became thin and they became very, you could see them. And so they said in Masaka there is a disease that makes the people slim. So that name came up. And normally it was related to that HIV, AIDS now, because the person has acquired so many things, the body has refused to work. But now we have come from there, and today we have ARVs. You cannot, if I sit here and the person who is taking ARVs sits next to me, you can even think I'm the one who has HIV and the other one doesn't. That's why we tell people, don't just look and say, oh, I'm having sex with that one. They must be well. The way they look. These days, the looks do not tell you. Why? Because they are on medicines that make them healthy, that make them live longer, that make them not get AIDS, get to the stage of AIDS. So slim is just a word in our local language. So, you are in a slim. They will not say HIV, but it's just, but now we differentiate that you can have HIV without having slim. You can have the virus, but we don't want it to eat you up to the point of getting AIDS. That's what we are fighting for.
Okay. Thank you. Two more questions before I call in David. One, how long does an HIV take to die outside the human body? And then the other one is on PEP. From what you've mentioned, people have been raped or people who have been exposed to risk can take PEP. Does anyone just walk in and buy PEP in a, let's say, pharmacy, or they are first supposed to be tested to be sure that before this happened, you are safe? Kind of answer to those, then immediately David, you can come in.
The first question you asked, how long the HIV takes to stay outside the body. I don't have the facts right off my head right now, but it doesn't stay for long. Okay, so that's why it's saying somebody's injecting blood or something into the toilet paper. By the time you come, no, it can't stay that long. And I think that is also helpful, because if it stayed for long, we would be very, would be very sick. And it thrives in those blood, semen, and all that, not just outside doing nothing. Then the PEP, you need, there are centers that will not have it, knowing our Ugandan system, but you should be able to go to a health center and explain that you have been raped and request for PEP, and they should be able to give it to you. You might have to pay. Just think of the systems that we have here. I wish you could just walk into a center, because even getting an HIV test, you might have to pay for it. So it just depends on where you are. Thank you.
Dr. Ruth, we cannot thank you enough. It has been an informative session. There are two other questions that Bob may not have mentioned. In cases where your partner is moving out, what do you do to prevent yourself from getting infected? That is one. Another question is, why is it that most HIV finally succumbs to other diseases? I'm sure that's what you mentioned around HIV versus AIDS, but you please explain on that. And then there's another comment that I grew up thinking those with the pink lips had silimu. Now it's a cool trend. That was just a comment, I guess. Just comment on those as well for now. Thank you.
infected. In cases where you know your marital partner is moving out with other men or women, what do you do? That is the most dangerous thing. And we said, be faithful. If you are not faithful, you come in, I do not know where you have been. You might bring the virus. That's the most dangerous thing. So you need to find strategies and say, I'm not going to have sex with you until we know where we stand. You need to help them change behavior. Because if they are married to you, they are not supposed to be moving out with other men. But it happens. But it is dangerous for you who is at home being faithful. And I think it's Dr. Watiti who keeps saying about it, that we are talking about being faithful, but every one of you should be faithful. So not only the person who sits at home. It is dangerous. It has to be worked on. So counseling, pastor, talk to him. These are, we call them difficult conversations. Have those difficult conversations. Sit at a restaurant and say, today we are talking about our sexual life. I am scared. Why? Because you are going out with other women. Then you say, may I don't go out with other women. Where? How? What? Say, I know you do that. And we have to work it out, that we need to think through what can happen. We have children. We cannot afford to get HIV just like that. Yeah, so it just needs a conversation. It's not easy. I can't say that he will stop just because you've had a conversation. I know them. They are very, very... Okay, why is it that most HIV finally succumb to other diseases? Definitely because now they have gone into the AIDS state. The soldiers around that are keeping the body are down. And so the place is open. Like we say, the walls are open. The walls have fallen down and the snakes are coming in. There's a verse in the Bible that says that. Exactly. The walls are down and everything is walking in like they want. And cancer is common. TB is common. Those diseases are linked with HIV. Why? Because they catch quickly. They catch the areas that are weak. It takes advantage of the low immune system, the deficient immune system, and eats you up. And I'm sure you know that even if you are not HIV positive and your immune system is low, maybe you are not eating well, maybe you have had a number of diseases that are pulling you down. It may even be cancer, it may be diabetes, maybe those things make your immune system low. So we need to be able to boost the immune system at all times, even if you're HIV positive. Nutrition, exercise, so that we are healthy. The body becomes healthier and healthier and builds up that immune system. But cancer and TB, and there are some diseases that are very common with HIV people.
Doctor, saloons. Men, we go to these salons as men, and sometimes you're there, they have those machines where they put those shaving machines, but when you look carefully, sometimes the connection is not working and it's just to confuse you. Is it a risk? Can we get HIV through those
It is
salons?
a risk. It is a risk because it's a sharp instrument. And sometimes when they're doing your hair, there may be some blood that comes as a result. And as soon as it is from the other person, they put it on you. So people, I think my husband has his own set. So if you want to go into a salon, you take your own set. You get your own person who use yours. That is the best. Or you go to a salon where you know that they sanitize. There are machines that where you put in and it sanitizes it. So before the next user. So you need to be careful, look out for those things. Don't just walk into these common places where they are working on you, then the other one says, oh, come and work on me as well. So they take the machine to the other person immediately. That is risky. Those are sharp instruments. We need to be careful.
Does the spirit help? Because they normally spread spirit on the thing before, just after one person.
Yeah, it's kind of like this, the COVID time when we are spraying. What do we call it that we spray?
Sanitizer.
Sanitizer, yeah.
Okay, doctor, just two more. For me, one thing I've learned is on the viral load, that too much of it makes the person more, the spread of HIV becomes high. And when the aim of taking medicine is to reduce the viral load so that the person is not as infectious. Is that what couple, does it mean that a couple which when one has HIV and one doesn't and the viral load is low, the risk of spreading is limited? That is one. The second one is there an effort to improve through the researches that are happening to improve this medication? You know, the challenge of taking medication every day for the rest of your life is scary. They have like research where they can take once a week or something like that.
Yes, a lot has happened in the terms of medication, where they used to take so many pills of so many, they have put them into one or two. So a person takes only one tablet or two tablets in the morning, or two tablets in the day. Depends on where you are in the line of in the process, how your viral load is and how sick you are. Because there are people, we have what we call the first line. People who are, start treatment, that's the first line. But then there are people who are still struggling and the viral load is still very high. Yeah. So they put them, or the medication they are taking is not working well for them, or it's giving them reactions. They have to do other medicines to see what else can we give them that is not the common one. And so they go to the second line, and then there's a third line. So it gets a bit complicated as you go up there. But they are improving medication. And the newest one is the injection that is coming out. Of course, it's like there's prevention. They're working on prevention a lot. So meaning I take 2 injections a year. I am HIV negative and I will not get the disease because I'm on 2 injections per year. Okay, that is the one. It's not yet in Uganda. It's probably coming by beginning of next year. We should have it where I can take it. Of course, people now are saying, but that one, people are going to become mad and run around and do all kinds of things. But, we are still talking about sexual behavior and modifying that behavior. But these are new things that have come in, which we feel are successes in the HIV world. And we're sure one of the things we've been tasked to do as Uganda AIDS Commission is to find a cure. So there are many things that they are working on, the scientists all over the world, to make sure that there is a vaccine that is a vaccine and there is a cure for HIV/AIDS. And maybe you should put it in your prayer that comes to pass. And then for the viral load, the way viral load is high viral load, you pass on the virus. A newly infected person has high viral load and passes on the infection. A person who has been on medication very well, taking it very well, the viral load reduces and goes to what we call undetectable. When they are looking for it, they do not see it. And therefore, that person cannot transmit the disease to anyone, even if they have sex with them. And so that's what we are trying to do, that anybody who is positive should suppress the virus. It's called viral suppression. You suppress that virus until it is undetectable, and then you walk around and you are fine. Of course, you still take precautions, not just saying I'm passing it on because I'm not passing it on, I'm doing what I want. So we are working on it together with behavior modification. So U equals U, undetectable equals untransmittable.
Doctor, before I want to invite Professor, I saw him on the call to pray for us, and make a comment as well. But just one more, toothbrushes. Toothbrushes,
yes,
I once heard that, yes,
yes,
that's a risk.
Yes, toothbrushes are risky because, when you brush, you are brushing and sometimes blood can come. It also depends on, if I put my toothbrush there for a day and the virus is no longer there, but we should not be sharing toothbrushes. Please don't share, even if you don't have HIV. You don't share toothbrush.
Yeah. No, I was just talking about, there's a househelp who was brushing with the same toothbrush with the children, and They said they got infected. That's why I was coming.
Yeah. So the children should have their own toothbrushes. Yeah, they need to have, because it's a risk.
Yes.
Share
Doctor,
tooth-
thank you so much. I'd like to invite Prof. I saw you on the call to be glad to hear your voice, your comment, and then you can pray for us thereafter. Prof, if you can hear us, over to you. Professor John, are you there? Maybe.
I don't know where he has gone.
Okay. Okay. I guess I want to give it back
There's
to.
a question, David, on how a child born from HIV positive parents grows up to the age of 16. There are many who grow up to the age of, and they don't manifest anything. They get a few diseases here and there. So it is possible. So that's why we say test, so that this child is treated as soon as possible.
So in
Yeah.
that case, what happens to the viral load, doctor? Because they're not taking anything. How comes the viral load is not they're not sick? How come?
Some people take long to show signs of anything because they have a very high, very good immune system. So if HIV catches somebody who is falling sick all the time anyway, the chances of them getting down faster is there. But if they have a strong viral load, I mean a strong immune system, then sometimes there are no signs at all for a time. I told you that you can have HIV for a long time without actually knowing. Nothing is happening in your body. So it is possible. That's why we say check. Don't wait until, when you wait until you are sick, then you are getting into the stage of AIDS, which can be hard to back up. You can't go backwards on that one. Instead, you go forward, and it makes it worse.
Thank you, doctor. I've also
Let me just
reminded us. Yes,
let me
yes,
look
doctor.
for.
As doctor prepares to come on, I remember that Dr. Watiti said, and doctors just added it on, that you can actually have HIV and die of old age if you look after yourself and you're taking your medicine well. And I think that's something important to take away. And for sometimes even for the stigma that happens, that people think that when you have AIDS, you're going to die. But there are 1,001,000,000 ways you can die other
Yeah.
than AIDS. So if you have AIDS and you're not looking after yourself and worrying about AIDS killing you or HIV killing you, you could die of it. And you try to cross the road with your eyes closed, you may not die of HIV. It's a truck which will kill. So just re-emphasizing that medication and you can die of old age. Doctor, I'll hand it over to you just to give us a closing prayer, and then maybe.
You kept saying professor. When you say professor,
I
I
don't
thought you
see
were talking
him.
about Professor
Hey, he's
John.
here. Is he there? Yeah, he's there. Prof, welcome. Please pray
Which
for
prof?
us.
Which prof are you talking about? John Chitayimbwa or John Senyonyi?
Oh,
Yes.
oh,
So we
Professor
are
John
not sure.
Senyonyi. Professor John
So
Senyonyi.
he kept thinking, asking John Chitayimbwa.
Sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
he'll pray.
Okay, let us pray. Our loving and gracious Father, thank you that you've given us resources in our midst from whom we can learn and be equipped for healthier lives, not only spiritually, but also physically. And today we've been hearing things that will enable us to live fuller lives, healthy lives. And so grant us hearts that are committed to what is honorable and what brings glory to you and also promotes health not only in ourselves but also in others, particularly as we look at our families. Thank you very much for Canon Ruth and for the speaking and gathering all that information for our benefit. May you refresh her and strengthen her to do even more. And we pray particularly your blessing on her work with Uganda AIDS Commission, that will not just be us who will benefit out of it, but also the rest of the people, irrespective of their faith commitment. And so we now prepare for the evening and night and pray that our eyes will see the glory of the Lord in the darkness of night. And now may the peace of God that is greater than we can understand guard your hearts and your minds in the knowledge and love of God and of his Son, Jesus Christ. And the blessing of God Almighty, God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit be with you, my brothers and sisters, and may that blessing keep you healthy and strong to serve him now and forevermore. Amen.